We're back on the SportsMax zone. A decision last week by the Jamaican government to allocate 10,000 fully vaccinated fans for this month's Gibson Relays track meet inside the National Stadium hasn't gone down well with many Jamaican football fans. No favourable response to repeated calls to allow fans for important World Cup qualifying home games in Kingston in the past 2 weeks. And some of the national players who were recently eliminated from the World Cup qualifying campaign have now joined the chorus of dissent. The Reggae Boys were only allowed fans for one game against the USA in November, and that allocation was only 5,000. Now, English Premier League striker with West Ham, Michail Antonio, has blasted the government, labelling the no-fan stance by the government as an embarrassment. Michail Antonio says this is embarrassing. How can we achieve anything if we are battling against the people that are meant to be helping us? 2 massive games to help us get to the World Cup, and the government gives no support, no fans. When we had fans, we were allowed 5,000. Football must not be as important to them as it is to the nation and the fans that support the team and believe. I have so much more to say, but I've said enough for now. Now, the local government minister, Desmond McKenzie, had stated why the allocation for the Gibson Relays was made. McKenzie said to the media recently that having reviewed where we are with regard to the pandemic, as well as the logistical and security plans for the relays, we are satisfied that this event can be held in full compliance with all protocols required. Another vocal member of the Reggae Boys team is defender Damian Lowe, speaking with SportsMax following their January 27 2-1 defeat to Mexico. He said it was due to the absence of fans that cost his team the game.
We need fans. We need fans in the stadium. Today we brought ranked number 15 in the world, team 1-0 to the 80th minute. If we had fans in the stadium again, we would have won the game, because the guys were playing well, they were defending well, they were fighting hard. We had fresh legs coming in, but we just needed that extra push. And you know, all week for 2-3 weeks I've been pressing, tweeting on social media like, hey, just give us even 100 fans. You know, just a little push when the guys get tired and slump.
Yeah, joining us now to speak on the issue is longtime Sports Administrator Michael Hall, currently, of course, League Operations Director with the Caribbean Premier League, and previously General Manager of Independence Park Limited, in charge of the National Stadium in Kingston, and you may remember also Chief Cricket Operations Officer with West Indies Cricket Board about 20 years ago. It seems, based on his job description, Michael Hall may have some strong feelings about this issue. Let me start here, Michael. We heard Damian Lowe there suggesting that they needed fans, even 100 of them. Are you on the player's side, or are you accepting the government stance on fans at the National Stadium for World Cup qualifying?
I will answer the question first, please. It would be remiss of me not to say congratulations on your Chairman's Award at the recent RJR Sports Foundation Awards. Well deserved.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Yeah, Lance, I am absolutely 100% on the side of those who believe that fans at sporting events are critical. There is absolutely no logical reason that I can think of as to why fans were not allowed for the the last 2 games at the National Stadium. And then less than a week later, we hear that 10,000 fans are going to be allowed at the stadium for the Gibson Relays. It sort of defies logic as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you know what? When they allowed 5,000 fans for the USA game in mid-November, by their own admission, there was no spike after that they could attach to that 5,000 fan experience at the National Stadium, which of course would be part of their decision-making process going forward, and certainly it would color or flavor their decisions with regard to fans going forward. So have you been able to glean, based on your circles, Michael, why is it that we could have had 5,000 fans for a November fixture in World Cup qualifying, and then in January, 0 fans allowed?
Yeah, well, Lance, I mean, obviously, as you and your viewers will appreciate, there's a lot of debate about this in the sports media space. You know, a popular media personality here in Jamaica has gone so far as to impute what I would call sinister motives behind the decision not to allow the JFF to have fans for the World Cup games. I can't really go that far because I'm not, my ears aren't picking that up. Lance, listen, there are so many things that we can look at to suggest that not allowing the fans, again, as I said before, I hate to repeat myself, but it's really nothing more else than I can say. It defies logic. The sport that you hold so dear to your heart, right? The sport of kings. Do people who go to Caymanas Park twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, do they have to present a vaccination pass? Do they have to prove that they're vaccinated? Or do they just go? Whoever wants to go just goes. Is that the case?
As far as I know, no. I don't know that there are restrictions for non.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And Lance, I know that you probably spend a lot of time in the more luxurious supermarkets based on your earning capacity and so on. And there's no bigger sort of incubator than an enclosed supermarket, right? Which is closed up and air conditioned and so on. You don't have to show a vaccination card to go there. How many thousands of people gather at the transport center every day in Halfway Tree and many other places? What would have been the purpose and point of telling the entire population or drilling into us the importance of getting vaccinated, getting your booster? It's the only way to and then having done that, not allow those who have taken those steps, the ability to go and cheer the Reggae Boys on in some critical matches. I just don't get it, Lance. I just don't get it at all.
Michael, do you get the sense that we're moving backwards as opposed to forward where sport and, managing this COVID-19 pandemic is concerned here in Jamaica?
Mariah, I think that there have been sort of mixed signals. I mean, I gave the example of horse racing. I give the example just of everyday life activities that take place here in Jamaica. And the policy seems to sort of be zigging and zagging from one point to the next without any real consistency. A lot of sports in Jamaica have suffered because we have not been able or they haven't been able to get restarted because, the pandemic has been looming large over our heads. Perhaps, and I'm hopeful that now that we are into almost 24 full months of this thing and we are slowly getting to the point where, a large enough percentage of the population will be vaccinated, that we will see a return, of some sort of normalcy. I mean, the CPL, we had fans last year in St. Kitts and Nevis. We had international cricket here in Jamaica a few weeks ago. No fans were allowed. I just don't get it. I mean, as you said, Lance, there seemed to have been, or there's confirmation that there was no spike in COVID cases following the 5,000 fans who went to the Jamaica-USA game at the stadium. And if there is no empirical data to suggest that when you do something like this, then it causes a risk. I'm not quite sure I understand why the Minister of Local Government would have said that to allow fans for the 2 games that were recently held would be irresponsible on the part of the government. So why is it now responsible to have 10,000 for the Gibson Relays? What has changed? I'm at a loss to understand it. I think the government really needs to think very carefully about trying to be more consistent in how it applies or how it grants permission for spectators at various sporting events. Because I know that there are a lot of disheartened and disgruntled sports administrators out there who are feeling as if the policy does not have any sort of, there's no sort of linear projection that can be followed. It seems to be, stop and start and so on, and it's not a good look.
Yeah. Well, Michael, you didn't want to delve into it, but the same commentator that you spoke of who put a YouTube message out, which has gone viral, is urging football fans in Jamaica to vote out the government because of their stance on this, which is a very, very, very serious position to take. But he wasn't joking. And there are a lot of football fans I know that seem to support what he's saying. That is how angry football fans have been out of what they see as a sort of disrespect to football fans and the football platform itself. World Cup qualifying is the biggest of all football competitions globally, and the Jamaicans had an opportunity, to put 100% into it. And football fans feel that the government didn't assist them. But Michael, we thank you for talking to us, and we'll be watching what happens from here on in, because this isn't a story that will die. Because as you said, the Gibson Relays will have 10,000 fans in a couple of weeks, and the footballers weren't allowed that. Well,
I won't be among the 10,000, but I wish them well.
Okay, Mike. Yeah, a serious story there, Mariah, because the football fans are really, really upset about it. And we'll see what happens here. And to be honest, no real consistency in how the government has approached fans for the varying sports. We will come back with more on the SportsMax Zone after this.